In the vast and arid desert of southern Peru lies one of humanity's greatest enigmas, one that can only be truly understood when we distance ourselves from the earth and gain the skies. Imagine a sterile plateau, where the wind barely blows and rain is a forgotten memory, serving as a canvas for gigantic drawings that defy logic and time. The Nazca Lines are not simple marks on the ground. They are colossal geoglyphs depicting animals, plants, and perfect geometric shapes, stretching for hundreds of meters across the reddish soil. Created by the Nazca civilization between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these figures remained hidden from modern eyes for nearly 2 millennia until the advent of commercial aviation in the 1930 South revealed to the world that the desert was not just a void, but a monumental art gallery designed to be seen by those inhabiting the heights. The initial shock of their discovery gave way to a question that echoes to this day. Why would an ancient people dedicate generations to a work they themselves could never behold in its entirety? The construction method of these lines is, at first glance, disconcertingly simple, making the final result even more astonishing. The Nazca removed the upper layer of dark iron-oxidized stones, exposing the light, calcareous sandy soil just beneath. Due to the region's extreme climatic stability, one of the driest places on the planet, and the absence of strong winds at ground level, these color contrasts were preserved almost intact for centuries. However, the technical execution of figures such as the monkey, the hummingbird, and the condor requires geometric precision that suggests the use of highly advanced scaling and surveying methods. Researchers debate whether the Nazca used small-scale models and systems of ropes and stakes to project their visions, but the perfection of the curves and the perfection of the straight lines, which stretch for miles without deviating a centimeter, raise doubts about whether rudimentary tools alone would suffice for such a feat. For decades, the most respected theory was that of German mathematician Maria Reich, who dedicated her life to the study and preservation of the lines. To Reich, the Nazca Desert was a gigantic astronomical calendar engraved in the earth. She believed that many of the straight lines pointed toward the rising of specific stars or the sun's position during solstices and equinoxes, serving as a guide for agriculture and seasonal rituals. The animal figures, in this view, could represent constellations in the ancient Peruvian sky. However, modern computer analysis and more recent archaeoastronomical studies have contested the accuracy of many of these alignments, suggesting that while astronomy might play a role, it did not explain the phenomenon in its entirety. Nazca appears to be something more fluid, an intersection between observational science and the spiritual necessity of a people living in an environment of extreme scarcity. One of the most fascinating and contemporary perspectives relates the lines not to the sky, but to what runs beneath the earth, water. In a desert where survival depends on water management, the geometric lines could function as maps or indicators of underground aquifers and irrigation channels. Studies show that many lines converge on locations where water emerges or where rituals related to rain were performed. The geoglyphs were, therefore, open-air ceremonial centers where the population gathered to walk in procession over the drawings as a form of physical prayer to attract fertility to the land. By walking on the outline of a sacred animal, the Nazca people would be activating a portal between the human world and the deities, controlling the weather, transforming the desert into a living temple whose limits were defined by faith and the vital need for water. However, the precision of the Nazca figures continues to fuel much more controversial and popular theories. The idea that the lines were landing strips for ancient spacecraft, popularized by Erich von Däniken in the 1960s, captured the global imagination. Although official archaeology dismisses this hypothesis due to a lack of material evidence, and the fact that the soft sandy soil would not support the weight of spacecraft, Däniken's argument rests on a fundamental question. If not for the gods, for whom were these drawings made? The figure known as the astronaut, a strange humanoid with large eyes and one hand raised to the sky, is frequently cited as evidence of direct contact with beings from other worlds. To skeptics, it is merely a representation of a shaman or a fisherman. But for conspiracy theorists, it is a self-portrait of a visitor who taught the Nazca the secrets of geometry and celestial observation. Beyond the famous figures, Nazca hides a less explored aspect: ritual decapitation. The discovery of numerous trophy heads in nearby cemeteries suggests that the Nazca culture had a deep and violent relationship with the sacred. It is believed that human sacrifices were part of the ritual system that activated the lines. The blood spilled over the desert would be the currency of exchange with the gods for a successful harvest. This duality between the sublime art of the lines and the brutality of the sacrifices paints a portrait of a complex civilization, driven by constant existential anxiety in a hostile environment. The lines, seen this way, are not just art, but a desperate effort to communicate with forces that seemed indifferent to human suffering. The desert is not just a canvas. It is a spiritual battlefield, where man attempted, through drawing and blood, to guarantee tomorrow. Modern technology continues to reveal secrets that the sand dunes tried to hide. In 2024, the use of artificial intelligence and high-resolution drones allowed for the discovery of hundreds of new, smaller geoglyphs previously invisible to the human eye. These new figures, many depicting decapitation scenes and hybrid beings, show that the Nazca complex is much denser and older than previously imagined. AI is capable of identifying subtle patterns in the soil that escape even the most trained experts, suggesting that we are still only on the surface of understanding this site. Every new drawing discovered adds a piece to the puzzle, but also increases the complexity of the mystery. Nazca is not a static system. It was a living tradition that evolved for a millennium, changing in purpose and style as the needs and beliefs of its people transformed under the relentless sun. When considering the end of the Nazca civilization, the mystery gains a layer of tragic irony. Evidence suggests that extensive deforestation of native trees for agricultural and ceremonial purposes altered the ecosystem to such an extent that sudden floods caused by phenomena like El Niño destroyed their irrigation systems and social structure. The people who drew gigantic messages for the gods asking for water may have been destroyed by the excess of it or by the climate change they themselves helped accelerate. The Nazca Lines survive today as a monument not only to their faith but to their collapse. They are the silent record of a struggle against the inevitable, a visual scream engraved on the Earth's crust that outlived the language and the bones of those who created them. The Peruvian desert thus holds a warning about the fragility of any civilization in the face of the forces of nature. Today, Nazca is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but its preservation is a constant battle against human progress and irresponsible tourism. Trucks crossing the Pan American Highway accidentally damage the lines, and changing global weather patterns threaten to erode what time has preserved. When we look down from a plane and see the hummingbird spreading its wings over the plateau, we are overcome with a sense of humility. Those drawings are a testament to the fact that humans have always felt the need to be seen by the cosmos, to leave a mark that transcends their ephemeral existence. Nazca forces us to confront our own insignificance and our creative greatness at the same time. It is a place where earth and sky meet in a silent dialogue that has lasted 2,000 years and which we may never be able to fully translate. The Nazca Lines remain a mirror of our own questions, whether they were made for extraterrestrials, gods, or for the Earth itself. They fulfill their role in keeping us looking at the past with admiration. They remind us that long before our digital technology, there existed a technology of the soul capable of transforming the desert into a book open to the infinite. The mystery of Nazca will not be solved with a single answer, but through the acceptance that some secrets are meant to be preserved, not just deciphered. If you felt drawn by this flight over the unknown and wish to continue exploring the signs our ancestors left along the way, subscribe and follow our next investigations. The desert has much more to say to those who know how to observe the shadows between the lines.